nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from the Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Supreme Court clears final hurdle ahead of May the 29th inauguration, dismisses suit by the People's Democratic Party challenging alleged double nomination of Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima for lacking in merit. President Muhammadu Buhari leads President-elect Bola Tinubu on a tour of parts of Presidential Villa shortly after both leaders observed the Friday prayers at the Presidential Villa Mosque. Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima attends public lecture in Abuja to kickstart inauguration activities, urges Nigerians to pray for the incoming administration.
On business news tonight, first plane from Nigeria lands at Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja as federal government finally unveils new national carrier.
On sports news tonight, Premier League club Brentford pledged to help Ivan Toney after an independent commission report revealed the striker has a gambling addiction.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, as part of efforts to decongest correctional centers in the country, 41 inmates are set free in Suleja, Niger State, and Kuje in the Federal Capital Territory.
And in international news from London, at least one person has been killed and 15 more injured, including 2 children, in a missile strike on a medical clinic in Dnipro in eastern Ukraine.
We started with the highest court in the land, where the Supreme Court has dismissed a suit filed by the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, challenging the alleged double nomination of Mr. Kashim Shettima for lacking in merit. Justice Adamu Joro, who read the judgment, added that the PDP acted as a meddlestone interloper and a busybody, as the matter is strictly an internal affair of the APC. The court held that the Vice President-elect withdrew his nomination on July the 6th, 2022, before the elections on February the 28th, 2023. But the court also awarded the sum of 2 million naira against the PDP. Well, our correspondent, Emanuela Ekele, reports.
The courtroom at the Supreme Court is quite scanty, a surprise to many following the anticipated judgment of the alleged double nomination the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima had generated. Among those present are some party faithful. The few lawyers around exchanged pleasantries while waiting for the commencement of the court sitting. At the resumed hearing, the justices held that the PDP lacked the jurisdiction to institute the suit, and it also failed to provide evidence that Shettima engaged in double nomination. On the case of Uche Nwosu, which the PDP relied on, the Supreme Court justices reminded them that Mr. Uche Nwosu got nominated by 2 political parties at the same time. They held that the suit of the PDP was bound to fail right from the trial court up to the Supreme Court. The court held that Shettima withdrew his Senate nomination on 6 July 2022 and was subsequently replaced. At that point, he was no longer a candidate for the Senate, and his position of Vice President is not a multiple nomination. Justice Jaro noted that for a person to have the local standing to challenge the nomination process of a political party, the person must be a natural person, an aspirant to that position, and a member of that party. The court further held that the reaction of the PDP was painful, as it used the social media to set a trap for the Supreme Court to blackmail it, describing it as unfortunate and uncalled for. Also, a political party has no right to challenge the action of another party or the decision of INEC in respect of another party. They also reminded the PDP of the same issue in 1999, where Atiku Abubakar was nominated for the seat of governor, but later moved on to become the vice presidential candidate to Olusegun Obasanjo, and his running mate Boni Haruna took over the governorship nomination. The court wondered what has changed since 1999. Counsels to both parties speak on the judgment.
You will notice that the court had said the issue ordinarily would have been settled on locus, but they went into it just to let the record straight and to make a policy and to send a message loud and clear to the whole world.
The Supreme Court have dismissed our appeal, that we have no local standard, and that irrespective of the unlawfulness of what APC did, we are not members of APC and we cannot challenge it.
The Supreme Court judgment has finally put to rest what many had considered a major snag that might stall the inauguration of President-elect Bola Tinubu and his Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima on Monday, May 29, 2023. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja has imposed a fine of 17 million naira on 3 litigants and their lawyer for filing a frivolous suit seeking to stop the inauguration of the president-elect, Bola Tinubu. Justice Omotosho imposed a fine on Praise Ilemona, Pastor Paul Isaac Audu, as well as Dr. Anangu Moses, who jointly instituted the suit praying for an order to halt the swearing-in of Mr. Tinubu as the new president. The 3 litigants are to jointly pay the president-elect the sum of 10 million naira and another 5 million naira to the All Progressives Congress, who were part of the 7 defendants in the suit. Justice Omotosho also ordered that an interest of 10% be placed on the judgment debt per year until when finally liquidated. Their lawyer, who filed the suit, was ordered to pay 1 million naira to each of Mr. Tinubu and the APC. The 3 plaintiffs had in their suit sought to stop the May the 29th inauguration on the alleged grounds that the president-elect Bola Tinubu supplied false information to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) about his age and citizenship status. Now to the leadership crisis rocking the Labour Party LP. A state high court sitting in Edo State has dismissed the notice of suspension issued against the embattled national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, by some party members at the ward level. The judge, Justice Emmanuel Aimoje, threw out the case for lacking merit. This was contained in a statement issued in Abuja on Friday by the acting National Publicity Secretary of the party, Obiora Ifo, who also confirmed that the action was filed by Abure and the executives of the Labour Party Ward 3 in Esan, northeast of Edo State. In his judgment, which lasted for nearly 2 hours, Aimoje judged that the party ward executive in Uromi in Ward 3 lacked the power under the Labour Party Constitution, particularly Act 13 and 17 and the Electoral Act 2022 as amended to remove the national chairman of the party. The judge in suit number HUC 21-2023 therefore went ahead to impose perpetual injunction against Mr. Lamidi Apapa and his faction from removing or suspending Julius Abure as the national chairman until the new national convention of the party is convened. Meanwhile, the Lamidi Apapa faction of the Labour Party has kicked against the decision of the Edo State High Court, describing it as a mockery. The factional publicity secretary of the party, Dr. Abayami Arabambi, who spoke to journalists in Abuja, said the matter pending before the Court of Appeal cannot be litigated by any lower court. He, however, says their lawyers have filed a motion for stay of execution of the judgment of the Edo State High Court. And with just few days to hand over to the incoming administration, President Muhammadu Buhari today led the president-elect, Senator Bola Tinubu, on a tour of parts of the presidential villa. They had both observed the Friday prayers in the presidential villa mosque before embarking on a tour of some departments. President Buhari also received an asset declaration form presented to him by the chairman of the Code of Conduct Bureau, Professor Mohammed Isa, at the State House. Our State House correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports.
It is the last working day of the Buhari-led administration that began 8 years ago, and as promised, the president continued work normally today, receiving visitors, commissioning projects, but perhaps the highlight of the day was the visit of his successor. An hour after midday, President Muhammadu Buhari received his successor, the president-elect Senator Bola Tinubu, who is scheduled to embark on a familiarization tour of the presidential villa less than 72 hours before he officially assumes office. President Buhari led the president-elect through his office building, the Executive Council chamber, the tea room, as well as the press gallery, as the state chief of protocol explained the functions of these areas to the visitor. Speaking on his renewed hope agenda, the president-elect is optimistic.
In Nigeria, we need to change. And change we have to. Change our mindsets. Let be poor breathe. Don't suffocate them. We have that responsibility.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, had hours ago conducted a similar tour of the opposite wing with the Vice President-elect, Senator Kashim Shettima. Separately, President Buhari received members of the Code of Conduct Bureau led by its chairman. The chairman presented to the president his Code of Conduct form, as the president directed expressly that all officials do same.
Thank you very much indeed. All I will do now is to get my bank manager from Kaduna to use the latest bank account so that it will show what has gone in since I came. It's up to the system to follow up to make sure from vice president downwards, everybody that is going has filled out his form as he did or she did when they came in.
From now on, the president would likely continue work from his glasshouse residence until May 28 in preparation for the handover. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the president today stated that the All Progressives Congress, the APC, has maintained transparency in spite of criticisms by the opposition, whom he says created the impression that the party's leadership was incompetent and had put the country in a mess. President Buhari made the comment at the launch of a book titled A Promise Kept, a compendium of significant achievements of the Muhammadu Buhari administration 2015 to 2023 at the State House. The president assured Nigerians that the APC has achieved its set objectives as a political party, such that Nigerians have gained the understanding that they can vote against sitting governors. Our State House correspondent Gloria Umezuke again has this report.
The Vice President-elect, National Chairman of the APC, senators as well as members of the National Working Committee of the APC converged for what would be the president's last official meeting as president in the council chamber. The launch of a book titled A Promise Kept, a compendium of significant achievements of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, is at the heart of this convergence.
The president in the past 8 years never resorted to any extrajudicial means to expand vengeance. I believe austerity will judge the president kindly. You can call whatever insult on him, but nobody can say
the book definitely will not contain most of the human touch that we have brought to governance in this country. You slowly undertook even the projects we met on ground, including the airports that were started by previous administrations, and you completed them without asking any question. You don't believe always is that these are monies that belong to the good people of Nigeria, and they don't need to waste them. So you completed these works and started new works.
In a response, President Buhari expressed satisfaction with the party's track record, particularly during the last elections.
The opposition has created the impression outside the country that we are going into a mess because we are incompetent leadership of the party. So we have really proved that democracy is worth defending. Democracy is worth defending. People in Nigeria are now. Otherwise, how can they vote against the sitting governors? Stopping them from going to the Senate to rest.
The president disclosed that he would dedicate the next few days to signing important documents as he reiterates his desire to leave office. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, tonight we continue our x-ray of the last 8 years of the Buhari administration as we turn our attention to the education sector. That's in a moment. To join us again.
be a mayor.
Oh, I wish you were here.
I'm always with you.
But it's not the same without you.
MTN 5G's amazing technology will change how we experience life and the internet. Get ready to encounter the incredible. And remember, no be juju, na MTN 5G.
Mama, Honorable Duchess of the Market, that keeps our belly full. Her Royal Highness, the one that turns hundreds into millions. Mama no dey sleep, no dey tire. The ever-efficient Chief Operations Officer, Bebe di Bebe, new media marketer, turning likes into credit alerts. Sweet babe, running a 9 to 5, yet still turning up for your people. Women are blooming with idea. Stanbic IBTC, we are cheering you on. Go Bloom with Stanbic IBTC. Stanbic IBTC, it can be.
Repair and recover with Astamin, a blend of amino acids and multivitamins.
The Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Access Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr Cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic. And enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Let's go, Mitchell in 5 minutes.
You're always so active.
And the pure bliss, it's so delicious. And it's free.
Yes, buy one Fresho and get one pack of delicious Pure Bliss biscuits free.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Supreme Court clears final hurdle ahead of May the 29th inauguration, dismisses suit by the People's Democratic Party, challenging alleged double nomination of Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima for lacking in merit. President Muhammadu Buhari leads President-elect Bola Tinubu on a tour of parts of the presidential villa shortly after both leaders observed Friday prayers at the presidential villa mosque. Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima attends public lecture in Abuja to kickstart inauguration activities, urges Nigerians to pray for the incoming administration. And at least one person reported killed and 15 injured, including 2 children, following missile strike on a medical clinic in Dnipro in eastern Ukraine. A professor of software engineering, Professor Bashir Galadanchi, has carpeted politicians who use religion as a tool to divide Nigerians during elections. Speaking as the guest lecturer at a public lecture to herald the 7th consecutive democratic transition in Nigeria, Professor Galadanchi says such actions are responsible for the sharp division experienced in every political season. Also speaking at the event, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, and the Vice President-elect, Senator Kashim Shettima, pleaded with Nigerians to pray for the next administration. Our correspondent, Delia Moyeni, tells us more.
Politicians, royal fathers, Muslim clerics, and members of the diplomatic corps are guests at this special public lecture and Jumat service. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, who represented President Muhammadu Buhari, urges Nigerians to give the incoming administration the same support they give him.
About the fact that Nigeria is the only country we have and that we must work together to develop it into our desired nation.
The Vice President-elect re-echoes the calls for support while stating his optimism for the journey ahead.
Nigeria needs to wake up. Inshallah, we are calling on all of you to pray for us, for Allah's guidance, for wisdom, and for protection. I want to reassure you that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will hit the ground running from day one.
The Sultan of Sokoto, who is the chairman of the occasion, emphasizes the need for leaders to serve the people and turn around the fortunes of the country.
We're all hopefully expecting this government to come in and hit the ground running with full steam. And we know the slogan of the incoming president had been renewed hope. So that gives us hope to hope for the best.
The guest lecturer at the event is a professor of software engineering at the Bayero University, Kano. Professor Bashir Galadanchi has strong words for the political class.
Same with divisive politics. Politicians, and we have many of them here, when they see they can increase their chances of winning elections by whipping up religious and ethnic sentiments, they turn to these sinister methods. Meanwhile, unknown to the masses, these politicians and elites are always together pursuing their selfish interests.
After the lecture, prayers were held during the Jumat service for the success of the incoming administration and the country. Delia Moyeni, Channels Television News.
It's a mixed bag for Nigerians as far as the education sector is concerned under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. The school feeding program, the approval of teachers' new salary structure, and the review of the retirement age for teachers are some of the successes of the administration. However, months of industrial action by workers in the sector remain a sore point under the administration. This next report reviews the education sector under the administration of President Buhari.
And defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari came into office with a promise to revitalize the education sector. As part of the Change campaign slogan of his party, the All Progressives Congress, President Buhari promised the full review of the Universal Basic Education Act, with emphasis on gender equity in primary and secondary school enrollment, while improving the quality and substance of our schools, targeting up to 20% of the annual budget for this critical sector, while making substantial investments in training quality teachers at all levels of the educational system. Reduce examination malpractices in the sector to a low level, enhance teacher training and improve the competence of teachers, provide 1 meal a day for all primary school pupils while creating jobs in agriculture, catering and delivery services. Though he appointed the Ministers of Education 6 months into his administration, the President convened a special retreat to address the challenges in the education sector.
We cannot progress beyond the level and standard of our education. Today, it is those who acquire the most qualitative education, equipped with requisite skills and training, and empowered with practical know-how that are leading the rest. We cannot afford to continue lagging behind.
In 2017, 550 billion naira was allocated to education out of the 7.29 trillion naira total budget. The President subsequently reduced allocation to the sector from 7.1% in 2019 to 6.9% in 2020. The allocation to the sector rose from 7.9% in 2022 to 8.8% in 2023.
The last 8 years in the education sector, I wouldn't say the administration has been outstanding. Try as they have done to provide infrastructure, to intervene through TED Fund, through UBEC, I would say it's been less than salutary.
The administration had its fair share of industrial action, as labor unions in the sector demanded improved welfare and adequate funding of public schools. For instance, the Academic Staff Union of Universities embarked on industrial action at different times in 4 years under the administration. In 2017, for 1 month. In 2018, 3 months. In 2020, 9 months. And in 2022, for 8 months.
Based on the agreement we reached with the government in December 2020 and the promises they made, we suspended that strike. But unfortunately, as we speak so, virtually all the items in that MOA have not been implemented.
The administration also implemented the school feeding program, the approval of teachers' new salary structure, and the review of retirement age for teachers. However, Nigerians believe the administration should have done more. Despite the introduction of the school feeding program, the number of out-of-school children hit an all-time high at 20 million, as Nigeria ranks as the 3rd largest in the world.
UNICEF figures, statistics, has also been a subject of argument, but we also have to realize that getting people to enroll is not just a function of a day program.
A bigger cause for distress for the administration is the abduction of students, mostly across northern Nigeria. Perhaps this is an inherited phenomenon, as the administration failed to rescue the remaining abducted Chibok schoolgirls. There were subsequent attacks in Maiduguri in 2017 and in Dapchi, Yobe State in 2018. Although the Dapchi schoolgirls were released, one of them, Leah Sharibu, is still held captive 5 years later. Attacks on schools between 2020 to 2021. 25 schools attacked in northwest Nigeria. 1,470 students were abducted in northeast. 25 education personnel in northeast Nigeria. 51 schools experienced armed attacks. 61 schools targeted by suicide bombers. 11,500 schools closed due to fear of attacks.
The whole idea of the Safe School Plan is in recognition of the prevalence of cases of attacks and violence in Nigerian schools, and it is devastating impact on school and host communities.
The incoming administration has promised to reform the sector as stakeholders continue to demand improved funding, revised curriculum, and an end to the incessant strikes in the sector.
Let's now head to the nation's capital, where Victor Matthias is standing by to give us the latest at our Abuja studios. Hello, Victor. Over to you.
Hello, Ayatunde. Thank you very much, and welcome to the nation's capital. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari says the achievements recorded during the last 8 years of his administration is largely because of the harmonious working relationship with the 9th National Assembly The president made this declaration at the official commissioning of the permanent site of the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies in Abuja. He further rates the 9th Assembly as the most productive, while explaining that his confidence in the workability of the National Assembly led to his support for an independent parliament in 2015.
This is a milestone in Nigeria's commitment to democracy and legislative excellence as the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS, opens its permanent site. Located along the airport road in the Federal Capital Territory, the edifice is intended to improve the capacity of members of the parliament. President Muhammadu Buhari is accompanied by the leadership of the National Assembly as well as the Director General of NILS, Professor Abubakar Suleiman, for the commissioning of the facility. This facility is operational as the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari winds down while the 9th Assembly prepares to exit. The executive-legislature relationship comes into the mix at the inauguration of the NILS permanent site.
I have traversed all parts of Nigeria in the last few days, commissioning several critical national infrastructure that our administration has completed over the last 8 years. Our success as a government are primarily due to the harmonious relationship between the executive and the legislature. This 9th Assembly will be remembered as one of the most productive in terms of outputs and outcomes.
I cannot leave this place without emphasizing what we have been able to achieve with us in the 9th National Assembly. Whatever the executive has been able to achieve, and we have achieved a lot, is because this 9th National Assembly has always been there to give you the kind of support that we need to achieve what we have so far achieved.
About 70% of the incoming federal lawmakers are new to legislative proceedings, and dignitaries believe the facility will improve the capacity of the new federal lawmakers.
This is the first of several legislative projects slated for completion and commissioning to place the National Assembly at par with other parliaments from more advanced democracies.
Today, therefore, mark an opening chapter in the history of the Nigerian National Assembly, as its only statutory think tank institution now parade a convenient academic environment conducive for learning, training, and research in legislative and other democratic processes.
The management of the Institute hopes this facility will serve as a hub for learning, collaboration, and the exchange of best practices, fostering a culture of legislative excellence in Nigeria.
Now, still ahead on the news at 10, the wait is finally over as the first plane in the fleet of Nigeria's national carrier lands at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. That's in business news in a moment. Do join us again.
There's a number that could change your whole world. 894. No matter if you know the data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Nigeria.
Dial *894#.
You first bank. Savlon Antiseptic Liquid kills over 99.9% of germs on your skin, leaving you free to live more. And it's formulated by Johnson & Johnson to keep you and your family protected. Savlon, love the feeling.
I am my roots. From the time of my birth, I started soaking in the essence of my people, our values, our way of life.
My culture is me. It is the poetry in my equal way.
My roots are sacred, like the beauty that is in the Etigi, the call of the talking drum. I am many things to my people, but my roots stay the same. I am what came before, and I am what comes next. I am deeply rooted. Origin, my roots, my power.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr Cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic. And enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Let's go, mental in 5 minutes.
You're always so active.
And the pure bliss, it's so delicious. And it's free.
Yes, buy one Fresho and get one pack of delicious Pure Bliss biscuits free.
You and your hair go through a lot. The heat, rain, chaos. It's a non-stop war against total breakdown. But just like you, your hair can stay strong no matter what. Mega Growth Break Free Daily Leave-In Strengthener for all hair types is infused with a unique blend of natural oils and conditioning proteins that helps protect your hair. Mega Growth Break Free, your daily defense against breakage.
Many thanks for staying with us and welcome back. Now, as part of efforts to decongest the nation's correctional centers, 41 inmates have been released in the last 2 weeks from the facility in Suleja, Niger State and Kuje in the Federal Capital Territory. The FCT Controller of Corrections, Mr. Ibrahim Idris, gave the figure at the release of some inmates at the Kuje Correctional Center. And a Danish dairy company, Arla Foods International, has opened a farm in Kaduna State that will help impact the Nigerian industry and reduce overdependence on the importation of dairy products into the country. The farm, which is located at Damo in Kubo local government area of the state, has been described as the largest dairy farm in sub-Saharan Africa. Speaking at the commissioning of the farm, Governor Nasir El-Rufai says the Damo household will transform cattle rearing from being a culture into a profitable business and help in curtailing farmer-herder conflict in the state.
A memorandum of understanding for the establishment of a Damo household farm project was signed between the Kaduna State government and Arla International in 2019. The company, which is regarded as the largest dairy farm in Africa, is equipped with modern facilities and technology to ensure the production of high-quality milk with a capacity of over 400 cows. It is expected to produce over 10,000 liters of milk daily to meet the local demands. Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State, accompanied by his deputy, the officials of the company, as well as the ambassadors of Denmark and the European Union, is here to commission the newly completed facility. Inside the hall, conversations center on the socio-economic impact of the project on the state and the country at large.
In Arla, we are always looking ahead. Our vision is to create the future of dairy. Because dairy is a vital product. It gives good nutrition to the many.
The project is a partnership between the Danish company and the Kaduna State government.
We hope 1,200 families will be doing something like this with cows purchased and supplied by the Kaduna State government from South Africa on the advice of Arla. And our hope is that with the successes of a farm like this, the problems of clashes between itinerant herders and sedentary farmers will be reduced to a minimum.
It is our first farm out of Northern Europe, so the expectations, honestly, are it feels like it's the right thing to do to help in the country, to help on dairy, agriculture, to help to try and give more dairy goodness.
Arla Foods International believes the Damal Household Farm project, apart from being a pragmatic and sustainable solution to security challenges that accompany nomadic livestock production, will help expand Nigeria's capacity in the production of high-quality milk and reduce the dependence on imported dairy products.
That's it from the nation's capital, but the news at 10 still continues in Lagos with Ayotunde Balogun. Have a splendid weekend.
Thank you so much, Victor. Let's get back to our political story on the Supreme Court's dismissal of the PDP suit against the APC Vice Presidential-elect Kashim Shettima. Well, the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has reacted to the Supreme Court's ruling. Well, Mr. Abubakar, in a tweet on his official handle, said the dismissal is not a setback to his quest for justice. According to him, quote, "Our legal team are primed to robustly prove that the election of February the 25th was fraudulent, did not comply with the constitutional requirements and the electoral guidelines of the Independent National Electoral Commission." He added that the announced winner was not even qualified to contest the poll. The former vice president insisted that the battle for democracy and the enthronement of a new order to spur growth and development in Nigeria is one to which he has committed his all and for which he is not ready to walk away at this point when the nation is at a crossroads. Speaking further, Mr. Abubakar said that sooner rather than later, quote, "Our esteemed justices will make the pronouncements that will serve as a befitting requiem for mandate bandits," urging all his supporters to exercise patience and conduct themselves peaceably as he and the PDP diligently conduct their litigation at the Presidential Election Tribunal Court. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has commended the Rivers State government for providing the right tools and environment for officers in the state to work. The IGP made this known while commissioning the Police Tactical Operations Center built by the Nyesom Wike administration in Obiakpo local government area. He explained the infrastructure, in addition to other interventions by the state government, meets his vision of e-policing.
6 months after inaugurating a state-of-the-art police intelligence unit complex in Port Harcourt, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, is in Rivers State again to commission yet another security infrastructure. This time, it's a building for police tactical operations constructed by the Rivers State government on the popular Ada George Road in Rumwe Precom, the home of Governor Nyesom Wike in Obiakpo local government area. Though the interior cannot be exposed for security reasons, the complex is set to house 20 offices on the ground and first floors, 3 categories of cells, training and control rooms, amongst other features. Governor Wike explains why his administration deemed it necessary to support the police and other security agencies.
Every government, even local government, you are in charge to fight insecurity in your domain. Yes, the police is under the federal government does not mean that you are not going to fight insecurity. And that's why they call you the chief security officers of your local government and of the states. So, essence of governance is protection of life and property.
The Commissioner of Police, during whose tenure the project was started, explains how the force plans to utilize the complex in fighting crime.
You discover that most of the crimes committed use vehicle and phones. And so, when fully functional, it means the crime rate in this state will be reduced by about 70 to 80%.
For the Inspector General of Police, the project fits into his vision of reducing physical presence of officers on the road. He, however, warns against extortion and other forms of inhumane activities.
You can patrol Rivers State in the comfort of this building. You can track, you can detect, you can follow everything in the comfort of this building. And that is what we are working towards, to the glory of God and the use of humanity.
As the office becomes operational, the IGP is promising to support the center with an armored personnel carrier, 2 gun trucks, and ammunition.
Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Udom Emmanuel, says the new terminal building and the maintenance, repair and overhaul facility at the Victor Atta International Airport in Uyo, the state capital, presents profitable investment opportunities to arrest the youth unemployment as well as boost the state's economy. Governor Emmanuel made the remark while commissioning the new terminal building at the airport in Uyo.
The airport's project was initiated by the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Obong Victor Atta, and his successor, Godswill Akpabio, took it a step further by completing it with the inauguration of the first flight on September 23, 2009. To give the airport more flexibility, a new terminal building, the maintenance, repair and overhaul facilities were added to it, and prominent sons and daughters of Akwa Ibom State and others, like former President of the 8th Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, joined the list of dignitaries to witness the inauguration of the facilities. The managing director of VKS Limited gives an overview of the project.
The capacity of this building is 1.5 million per year passengers. But let me add something. It's for 12-hour shift. So when Ibom will start 24 hours operations, it will be 3 million annually.
Former Governor Victor Atta, after whom the airport is named, appreciates Governor Udom Emmanuel for completing and even expanding the airport.
This was conceived to serve the western region of Africa, or the western region of Africa. And it was a pity and a shame that we could not proceed with it to make it what it was. But we have done so.
The governor-elect, Umo Eno, is full of praise to former Governor Victor Atta and the outgoing Governor Udom Emmanuel for initiating and completing the airport project.
For the dexterity, the commitment in seeing through that this project started, and most importantly, that it has been completed. I'd like to also assure that if there is any project, Your Excellency, you have not finished, just like you have finished other people's projects, we will finish those projects.
Next, Governor Udom Emmanuel appreciates everyone that contributed to making the project see the light of day.
This is part of our total approach to aviation development. And you can only do that successfully if you have this kind of building.
He then formally inaugurates the facility.
As we commission this building today, in the name of God the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
And while they're standing by to give us the very latest in the world of business.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Hello and welcome to Business News. The federal government today unveiled the country's national carrier, Nigeria Air, in Abuja. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, performed the ceremony at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. 30 aircrafts are expected to form the fleet of the Nigeria Air in the next 5 years. However, only one aircraft has arrived. And let's head to the domestic market now, where it made a rebound from the previous loss. Investors renewed their buying interest on some valued equities. Will Ibong has the details.
Welcome to the stock market report. And the NGX makes a rebound in the final trading day of the week. MTN Nigeria was the biggest driver, leading today's rebound as the all-share index rose by 0.29%. And we can see the index is reflecting the strong performance in the market today. Most key indexes were in the green. Now, the Tier 1 banks pushed the banking counter by a massive 2.14%. Corn oil changed the status today, joining the league of gainers. Its share price appreciated by nearly 10% to close at 47 naira 95 kobo from its open of 43 naira 60 kobo. Investors are taking advantage of lower prices and taking position in the markets. Not a bad finish in the fourth trading week of May. And that's the stock market report. And Will Ibang is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Will. Let's take a look at numbers from other major markets around the world. Thanks for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Ayod Sunday. Have a wonderful weekend.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. Russia has destroyed a hospital in the eastern Ukrainian city of Dnipro, its latest missile attack so far. Russian strikes in Ukraine have intensified in recent weeks ahead of an expected Ukrainian counteroffensive. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international stories in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. At least one person has been killed and 15 injured, including 2 children, in a missile strike on a medical clinic in Dnipro in eastern Ukraine. Video shows the aftermath with the huge building completely gutted and flames tearing through the remaining walls. Firefighters did their best to extinguish the huge blaze. Ukrainian authorities said they shot down 17 missiles and 31 drones launched from Russia overnight. The United States Treasury Department statement says Russian private military group Wagner may be operating via Mali and other African countries to obtain weapons for the war in Ukraine. The statement said the group's employees may have been trying to procure mines, drones, radar and other equipment for the war. Wagner is known to be operating in some African countries, including Mali. The statement also announced sanctions on Wagner's Mali chief, Ivan Maslov. US President Joe Biden says progress has been made in talks with the top Republican, Kevin McCarthy, over the US debt ceiling, even as Congress breaks up for a holiday weekend.
Okay, well, I'm glad the speaker's here today. We're optimistic we may be able to make some progress.
The pair aim to reach a deal on raising the government borrowing limit for 2 years so it can keep paying its bills. Investors' fears of the US defaulting on its debts have grown, despite assurances that talks are progressing.
Speaker McCarthy and I have had several productive conversations, and our staffs continue to meet as we speak, as a matter of fact, and they're making progress. I've made clear time and again defaulting on our national debt is not an option. The American people deserve to know that the Social Security payments will be there, the Veterans Hospital will remain open, and that economic progress will be made, and we're going to continue to make it.
More than 20 Australian sports organisations have come together to back a referendum to constitutionally recognise Indigenous people. Sports including cricket, golf, motorsport, netball and badminton pledged support for a proposed Voice to Parliament, a consultative committee that would advise legislators on matters affecting Indigenous people. Making up about 3.2% of Australia's 26 million population, Aboriginal people were marginalised by British colonial rulers and are not mentioned in the 122-year-old constitution. An Asiana Airlines spokesman says a plane has landed safely in South Korea after a passenger opened its door mid-flight. Video footage filmed by a person on the flight showed wind rushing in from the open door. A spokesman said the plane was 2 or 3 minutes from landing when a male passenger sitting next to an emergency door opened a cover and pulled a lever, so the door opened around 200 meters above the ground. No one was hurt in the incident, but 9 people were transferred to a nearby hospital after suffering breathing issues. Killer whales have severely damaged a sailing boat off the coast of southern Spain, adding to dozens of orca attacks on vessels recorded so far this year on Spanish and Portuguese coasts. A group of orcas broke the rudder and pierced the hull after ramming into the Mustique on its way to Gibraltar.
Yeah, oh my God.
Prompting its crew of 4 to contact Spanish authorities for help. According to the research group GTOA, which tracks populations of the Iberian orca subspecies, the incident follows at least 20 interactions this month alone in the Strait of Gibraltar between small vessels and the highly social predators. And more than 230 old cars, including some classics worth several €100,000 each, are being auctioned in the Netherlands after being stored for decades in a dusty barn by a secretive collector known only as Mr. Pullman. Dealer Gallery Aldering became the new owner of the collection a few months ago after Pullman, who does not have any heirs, was forced to sell it due to his age and medical reasons. He never showed off his cars, but instead kept them a secret, scared people might steal them. Bart Aldering says he clearly loved his cars, starting them regularly to keep the engines healthy. The collection contains cars including Alfa Romeo, Lancia, Maserati, Ferrari, Aston Martin, Jaguar, and many others. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. It's now time for sports news tonight. Brentford's Ivan Toney will not walk alone in his quest to manage gambling problem, as his club has promised to support him after a report by an independent commission revealed he has a gambling addiction. Tony is serving an 8-month suspension after admitted breaches to the Football Association's betting rules and was sanctioned by the Regulatory Commission. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has asked Spanish football authorities to follow the Premier League's example in the fight against racism after the abuse suffered by Real Madrid star Vinicius Jr. Guardiola believes the Premier League has set an example of what he considers strict reaction to any outbreak of racist abuse. Arne Slot, who ruled himself out of the running to take over at Tottenham Hotspur, has signed a new contract at Dutch League champions Feyenoord, which runs till 2026. Spurs were determined to get Slot after he secured the title with Feyenoord this season. And staying with the Dutch League, AZ Alkmaar has issued 43 stadium bans after hooligans attacked West Ham fans following the Europa Conference League semi-final. Hooded AZ fans tried to storm the area reserved for friends and family of West Ham players and management after the game on May the 19th. And that's it on sports news. I'm Jeffrey Zongo is back to Ayatunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Jeffrey. And the main news again. The Supreme Court today cleared the final hurdle ahead of the May the 29th inauguration when it dismissed a suit by the People's Democratic Party challenging alleged double nomination of Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima for lacking in merit. President Muhammadu Buhari led President-elect Bola Tinubu on a tour of parts of the presidential villa shortly after both leaders observed Friday prayers at the presidential villa mosque. Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima attended public lecture in Abuja to kickstart inauguration activities and urged Nigerians to pray for the incoming administration. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Do have a good night.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their